Well, well, well. Uh, Krysov, right? That was a pretty bad card, prediction wise. If you aren't sure what I'm talking about, either go back and watch my prediction video for UFC 328, Chimaev Strickland, or you can go onto Instagram or TikTok and see my post there, where I again just showed who I predicted to win. Um, no, oh God, this was an absolute all-time stinker of a prediction from myself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Octagon Opinions channel. On in today's video, we will be discussing oh God, we will be discussing the insane card that we saw over the weekend. A little bit late to it, but who's counting? Yeah, so we'll start off. We'll break down the main card, obviously starting with Chimaev and Strickland, and then we will make our way down all the way to the early prelims. So if you would like to, you can stay for that. If you only want to watch the main card stuff, fair enough. Please do stay and watch more. You know, subscribe, like, do all that good shit. But yeah, let's kick it off with Khamzat Chimaev losing the belt, the middleweight title to Sean Strickland. Now this was a really, really, I mean, yeah, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. It was a very good fight to watch. Obviously, we saw Khamzat Chimaev not really smudge Sean Strickland the way that he did DDP. So again, I have to eat my words there. I thought Chimaev was just going to run through Strickland in the first or second round. I thought he was going to submit him stupidly. You know how, I mean, what a stupid thing. What a stupid thing to think that Khamzat Chimaev would wrestle and submit somebody. But no. In all seriousness, Sean Strickland, he fought like hell. It was a great performance from Strickland. You do have to give him credit. Um, he did more damage on the feet, and he did manage to stuff a fair amount of Chimaev's takedowns. He didn't allow himself to just get smudged. Personally, I felt Chimaev could have maybe done a bit more, like with the wrestling. Obviously, I think when he was going for his takedowns, I just think it maybe didn't always look like he was putting 100% into his takedowns. Do you know what I mean? Like he maybe looked like, not that he was half-arsing it, but he just looked like he maybe could have put a bit more into them. And I feel, but one good thing though, for Hamza, I felt anyway, was that he showed that he does have the kind of cardio that is needed to go for 5 rounds, and I think, but although both guys were pretty tired by the end of the fight, I think we saw Hamza show everyone that he can actually fight for 25 minutes against a guy like Strickland, who we know has a pretty good gas tank, just himself. So yeah, I think both guys had a reasonably good performance in areas maybe where we wouldn't expect them to. Hamzat Chimaev, for example, I think he actually, what was it? Was it round three? I think it was where Hamzat Chimaev, he stood and he struck with Strickland. Um, well, actually, we can just have a look. Yeah, so round three, this was the round that they were just striking with each other. Um, if you do hear any beeps, that's a dishwasher. But anyway, um, so yeah, so round three, I thought that Chimaev showed people. No, he didn't show, incredible striking. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But he showed that he could stand and strike with a guy like Strickland, who, people thought Strickland was just gonna, jab and teep his way to a decision and win, and he did get the split decision win. However, he wasn't deep. No, but yeah, so I feel like Hamzat showed that he could strike. I feel like his striking, I don't know if I would say it looks like it's improved a lot, since the fight with Kamaru Usman, where he kind of stood and struck with Usman a wee bit, and he looked okay in that fight. I felt on the feet, but in this fight again, I just don't really know if I would say he looks like he's massively improved. I think he used his jab really really well against Strickland, and again we obviously saw the pictures of Strickland after the fight with his nose all fucked up. So obviously Hamzat was doing damage, but Strickland, he managed the fight really well. His fight management is a lot better than I think people were giving him credit for, including myself. And yeah, clearly, Strickland was right all along. Hamza, in the gym when they were sparring, when they were, when they were boys in the gym. I feel like maybe Strickland was actually getting the better of Chimaev. But yeah, good fight all round. I think Chimaev now, we've obviously seen that he's now talking about moving up to 205. I think he was going to do that regardless. Um, but yeah, I think that'll be a good move for him. And I think obviously now that means that the middleweight division can kind of kick on a bit. They can move on with Strickland um, as the champion. And speaking of which, I think do the UFC give him Imavov again after he's already beaten Imavov? I think they probably do. I don't know if you can give Kai Baralio. I just don't know if you can give him a title shot realistically. Um, I don't really think that he's done anything crazy in the middleweight division to deserve a title shot. However, if they do give it to him or Imavov, even though I think Imavov beat Baralio, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I think they'll give Imavov the title shot next. I'm not really sure who else they can give it to realistically. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't actually really know who else they give the middleweight title shot to. Um, but yeah, either way, I'm sure they'll think of somebody. But yeah, good fight, good win from Strickland. Um, yeah, good fight all round, I think. We move on to another absolute stinker of a prediction from myself. Um, I think in this one I said that Tatsuro Taira was going to win by, I think I was either a submission or a decision. I can't remember which one. It doesn't matter. Because Joshua Van won the fight, and he won it in the fifth round with a stoppage. And it was I mean, there was people saying it was an early stoppage from the referee. Maybe Tyra could have gone on, but I really don't think he could have. I think in the fifth round we were seeing Van just lighting Tyra up, and then obviously when the finish came, Joshua Van was just he was lighting Tyra up on the feet. Tyra was running away. He didn't really look like he was defending himself that much. So from that point, I can see the referee's perspective, and I can get why he stopped it. Um, but apart from that, I mean, the whole fight was insane. It was a crazy fight. In round one, Tyra he shoots and gets a takedown. Um, and then we saw Van also using some really, really good combos on the feet in the first round too. Tyra throwing some good low kicks while they were sort of clinched up, I felt. Um, but then Van was also doing a really good job of getting up from the positions on the ground. And in the second round, um, we saw Tyra hitting Van with a big knee, sort of on the break of the clinch. But then again, Joshua Van just going back to his boxing, and he was just, I mean, Tetsuro Taira, there was parts during that fight where I just felt like his guard, like he was basically just letting Joshua Van hit him. He was like he was a walking he was a walking bag basically. Um, because he would just he would just sort of stand in front of Joshua Van with his hands completely down, and he would just basically eat the shots that Van was throwing at his face. And I just like if you're gonna do that with anyone, you don't do it, especially at flyweight. You don't do it with Joshua Van. Like you just don't do that. And I just feel like Tyra, his his management of the fight was just really, really poor. And I don't say that happily. I was kind of wanting him to win. I thought his fight against Moreno was quite cool. Um, I just, I mean, this was just such a poor fight. I think it was an amazing fight, entertainment wise. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like Tyra could. He just, I don't know what happened. I just think he kind of, I don't know. He just was fucking about a little bit. He maybe didn't. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel like he could have done better, and I feel like his fight management was just really poor against Joshua Van. Um, and then again, Joshua Van showing good takedown defense in the fifth round. He had a really good sprawl, and then he eventually, he does stop Tyra in the fifth round. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Joshua Van, obviously, we want to see him against Pantoja. I think that's the fight everybody wants to see. However, Tatsuro Taira, what do we do with him now? Um, I think we give him to maybe a Brandon Royval. Let's see, who else is at flyweight? Sort of flyweight top contenders. I think Royval and Tyra could have maybe a fun fight. Um, Yeah, I'd say Royval maybe, if they haven't already fought. Um, but yeah, good fight, amazing fight, obviously awarded fight of the night for a reason. Yeah, this was good. Unfortunately, I did get the prediction wrong, but we don't talk about that. Moving on now to the heavyweight bout between Alexander Volkov and Waldo Cortez Acosta. Now, in this one, I did say Acosta was going to win by knockout in round one or two. Um, I was wrong. It was funny. I was talking to somebody, and they were actually saying that Volkov was going to win because he's too rangy. He'll keep Acosta, at range. Da 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 da. And I said no. I completely fell for the Acosta hype train, and I thought, this guy's running through everybody at heavyweight. Volkov will just be another name. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I have to hold my hands up. I have to hold my hands up and say that Alexander Volkov, you know, eh, I mean, he just managed the fight amazingly. The low kicks really added up, especially towards like the end of the fight. I think we saw Volkov hit Acosta with a pretty big low kick. I think was it round three maybe, and then Acosta he kind of stumbled a bit and he kind of started to limp on his leg. Um, but it was a good fight. It was a good fight. I felt a little bit, maybe there maybe wasn't as much action as people would expect in a heavyweight fight. Um, but this is the thing, right? This is just a bit of an off-topic thing. Um, when I'm watching these events, these cards and stuff like that, and when you're watching it and you have the volume up and whatever, and you hear the fucking crowd booing because there is like even a slight bit of like grappling or wrestling or anything like that, that shit pisses me the fuck off, right? Because like if you're buying a ticket, I don't know how much they're costing these days. Dana White, just trying to pull money from anywhere. But if you're paying, hundreds of dollars, let's say, for a ticket to one of these events, and you don't look at the card, you don't even, you don't make an effort to even look at who's fighting, um, to know if, oh, that guy's going to be, utilizing he's going to be using the grappling or clinching or whatever it is or wrestling. I just feel like too many people are just buying tickets thinking it's going to be like a McGregor v Aldo or a McGregor v Alvarez or like a Holloway Gaethje. Like I think that's okay to expect from some fights, but I think like if you're buying tickets to go there, you can't expect every fight to be, you know, 25 minutes or 50 minutes of just constant striking because that's just not how it works. There are different fighters with different styles, and it just gets on my tits when I hear the crowd booing through the TV because a fighter has, used, one of the, many different sort of fighting styles or um, just yeah, it just pisses me off. But yeah, anyway, regardless. Acosta, he was just being kept at range by Volkov. He couldn't really get close to him. We obviously saw moments where Costa was he was pointing to the ground and he was like almost telling Volkov to like, oh, stand and bang, stand your base, stand your base. Um, but yeah, he was like pointing to the ground, trying to get Volkov to just stand and bang with him, which again Volkov isn't going to do, because he's just smart like that. Um, but no, I mean Costa, he was doing well with his jab in round one. He was kind of trying to find his range. But Volkov was just doing good to stay out of the range because he could. The second round, we saw Volkov really use those low kicks. I feel he used them really well, just constantly like irritating Acosta, just breaking up his rhythm. Um, Volkov was also doing really well in the boxing. I feel in the second round. Um, as I said, Costa was trying to sort of do that Max Holloway thing, but it just backfired. And in the third round, we saw Volkov using kicks again. Um, Acosta, I felt like his jab in the third round, at least, it was a lot more accurate. There was a lot more sting to it, and it looked like it was a lot more damaging to Volkov. Um, and he was throwing a couple of knees in the clinch, but overall Volkov did get the win, and yeah, rightly so. People saying that Acosta should have won, he shouldn't have. I think let's be realistic. Volkov won the fight, and I think now in terms of heavyweight and what these two guys do next, I saw somebody saying that Volkov should fight the winner of Josh Hawkett and Derek Lewis, which I I don't know if I like that necessarily as a matchup. In terms of activity, I think it would be good to get Volkov, staying a bit active, making sure that his body doesn't kind of um, break down or whatever, because he is really old now. But I think Volkov, do we give him a title shot? I don't know. We've got Pereira and Gan obviously fighting for the interim belt at the White House. Who can forget the White House? That beautifully um, that beautifully advertised AI slop. Um, and that, by the way, that's not going to go away. And I hope it doesn't go away because that's shocking. But anyway, that's a different thing. Um, but yeah, I think Volkov, maybe you do give him Josh Hawkett, if Hawkett beats Lewis. However, if Derek Lewis wins, I don't really want to see that. I don't know. I just don't really want to see Derek Lewis. I think he's just, yeah, I don't know, man. He's just, yeah. He used to be obviously really fun to watch, but I think now he's kind of just, I mean, it also like he took a dive when he fought Acosta. That was a insane finish to the fight, but it is what it is. Um, we need to move on though because it's been nearly 20 minutes and I'm only on the third fight. Um, so let's move on to Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley. Now, prediction wise, I said Joaquin Buckley was going to win by uh, a knockout or a TKO in round two. Um, God, was I wrong? And this is the thing that pissed me off, right? I like in my prediction video, I said I was very much sure that Sean Brady was going to win. I was so sure. In fact, I said Sean Brady was going to win by decision, I think. Um, and then for some reason, I just changed to Joaquin Buckley, and it pissed me off because in that prediction video, I talked about how the Michael Morales loss would skew people's opinion of Sean Brady, and then I was the one who got skewed. So yeah, I picked Joaquin Buckley stupidly. It was yeah. I mean, this was a complete domination of a fight. Joaquin Buckley 21 total strikes in 3 rounds is insane. Um, yeah, Sean Brady just absolutely dominated him on the ground every time. I felt, again, prediction wise, I thought Joaquin Buckley was maybe going to be able to stuff a couple of the takedowns. don't ask me why, man. I think because I was, oh man, just terrible prediction from me, terrible prediction. Um, yeah, amazing win from Sean Brady, um, and yeah, just absolutely shut me up. So fair play. We move on now to King Green and Jeremy Stevens. Now this is a prediction that I'm gonna say that I got this right. Um, I predicted that King Green was going to win by first round KO TKO. It was a first round submission. Um, I'm just going to take that as a first round finish. So I'm just going to say that I got that one right. Um, but yeah, it was a first round submission finish. Ken Green, Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy Stevens, I just don't really see. Yeah, it's just good win. Doesn't really do anything for Ken Green's career. But I suppose it's just another win. So yeah, good win from him, and it was a prediction I got right. So yeah, we move on now to the prelims, and this is another fight that I predicted correctly. Atiba Gauthier getting the first round KO TKO over Ozzy Diaz. Now I predicted this, so score. Or actually round two. Um, well, I predicted round one, but we'll call it the same thing. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's the same. So yeah, it was a good fight. A massive right hook from Atiba Gauthier, and it was kind of like he threw it, and it was kind of going down onto. It was coming down onto Ozzy Diaz's head. I think Diaz threw like a bit of a. He threw a bit of a meh kind of jab or straight out to Gauthier, and then Gauthier obviously dodges that, bang, comes round with a right hook. Um, and yeah, it was a great win, and that now tells us that Atiba Gauthier he can finish, guys. And I was really thinking about this in the prediction videos. His fight against Pulaev, it just, I mean, it was like you were just watching it, and Pulaev was just running away from Atiba Gauthier the whole fight, right? He was just running away, running away, running away. He wasn't trying to get hit with that big right hand, obviously, and you can't blame him. However, I feel like Gauthier probably should have pursued the finish in that fight more than he did. Um, However, he has obviously made up for that in this fight with the knockout of Ozzy Diaz. Oh, pardon me. But yeah, good fight. Atiba Gauthier now, big name in the middleweight division. Um, Maybe you give him like a Marvin Vettori, maybe, or Christ, who else do you give Atiba Gauthier? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would quite like to see that actually. Marvin Vettori, maybe Roman Dolidze. But yeah, overall, good fight. Good win from Atiba Gauthier. He's showing now that he can actually beat guys. He can put guys out, and yeah, great win from him. Ozzy Diaz losing, yeah, is what it is. We move on now to another fight that I got right. So this is now we're on a three fight prediction, right? Does that rhyme? I don't know. But yeah, so we got this one right. Yaroslav Amosov getting the submission win over Yoel Alvarez. Now I predicted this. I predicted a second round submission, and he got performance of the night. So that's lovely for him. But yeah, first round, we saw Amosov taking down Alvarez. I felt like Alvarez was his front leg, his lead leg. He was leaving it out, like it was like way out forward than the rest of him. And I just, I was saying during the fight, and I was pointing at it, and I was saying like his leg, Amosov's gonna take that leg, and he's gonna take advantage of the fact that Yoel Alvarez is just his legs just completely far out and easy to. It's like just basically inviting Amosov to just take it, and that's what he did. He took his front leg, took him down. He dominated Alvarez up against the cage. Alvarez was doing pretty well, I felt, defending the back, and he stopped Amosov from sort of getting onto his back, and he did manage to get back up. Amosov had some pretty good shots in the grappling, and he ended the first round with another takedown. And then obviously in round two, we saw that absolutely massive takedown where he just picks him up and just dumps him down. Kind of like the way Hamzat was doing people back in the day. Um, and then obviously he got the arm triangle, the sort of head and arm, that kind of one. Got the tap, and then broke it down in the middle of the cage. Um, just break dance in the middle of the cage, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, great win from him. Unfortunate for Joel Alvarez, but is what it is. And yeah, Amosov, really, really good welterweight fighter. Um, Maybe we could see him fighting like a Buckley. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I feel like a Buckley maybe, or maybe a Kevin Holland. I think those would be some really good fights. Um, we have a welterweight who's maybe in the sort of top 10, top 15. Covington, if he's even still there, is he? I don't know. Who cares? If he is, yeah, why not? But yeah, it was a really good win from Amosov, and another prediction I got right. So again, two wins. We move on to the lightweight bout between Grant Dawson and Mateusz Rebecki. This one pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, Grant Dawson got the third round submission. Mateusz Rebecki, this guy's a fucking idiot. I'm so annoyed at this. I predicted a Mateusz Rebecki knockout in the second round. And yeah, I'm pissed off, man. I'm pissed off. Um, the third round, like with the submission that Dawson got, we were seeing that Rebecca almost was like in a lot of the exchanges and stuff, like he would almost try and initiate the wrestling against Dawson, and that pissed me off. Although Rebecca is obviously a good wrestler and he knows what he's doing, he's got loads of wins by submission and stuff. Like I'm not trying to say that he doesn't know what he's doing on the ground, but for the love of God, this just pissed me off, right? When in the third round, all right, Rebecca trips Dawson and gets him onto the ground and then tries to fucking go and wrestle with him. And I just like, what is he doing? I just like, Rebecca's got like fucking hard hands and he's got power in his hands. And we were seeing it in throughout the fight. He was hitting Dawson um, with some really good shots. And to be fair, Dawson was actually, he was doing pretty well with the stand up. Compared to his last fight where he got sparked out. Um, but it just, oh man, it pissed me off so much when Rebecca literally got the trip and all he had to do was just get on top of him and just start ground and pounding him. And I feel like he could have potentially gotten the win. And instead, he tries to wrestle with him. And I just like, what are you doing? Oh man, really annoying. Um, of course, great win from Grant Dawson. I mean, you've got to give him credit. I thought Mateusz Rebecki, I thought in his fights against Ludwig Klein stuff like that, I just thought this is a guy who can just stand and bang, and he's just he's tough. He's tough as nails. Obviously Dawson, he was wanting to show people that he is tough as well, and that he isn't just skilled, and I think he did show that throughout this fight. Um, Dawson, it was like a rear naked choke, but then. I think was it in the post-fight interview he was explaining it was like a really specific type of choke and all that kind of stuff. So really, really high level shit from Grant Dawson. Really high level stuff. And yeah, great win for him. He'll be fighting now up the lightweight division. Maybe you give him Beneil Dariush. Maybe you give him. I mean, who else can give him at lightweight? Maybe Brian Ortega. Is Brian Ortega even still about? If you see him, give him tap him on the shoulder. Um, I don't know, maybe there's missing posters, for Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega. But anyway, if Brian Ortega's about, maybe give him Grant Dawson, or Dariush, who is, coming off that loss against Quillan Salkeld. Um, but yeah, good win for Grant Dawson. Unfortunate for Rebecca, but that's what happens. If your opponent is on the ground and you don't try and fucking smash their face in, then especially if they're a wrestler, and you try and wrestle with them, it is what it is, man. He kind of got what he kind of got what he deserved. But anyway, we move on now to a fight that I got wrong. Surprise, surprise. No, so it's Jim Miller, obviously getting the submission win over Jared Gordon. Now this was just Unk still has it. Unk still got it. You know what I mean? First round as well. Amazing performance. Gordon, he took Miller down. Big mistake. Shouldn't have done it. Miller instantly gets into the guillotine position, and Gordon taps. That's basically what happened. Performance of the night for Jim Miller as well, which I thought was pretty cool. That's nice for him. He's now on, was it 47 fights, they were saying? So he's now very, very close to getting to 50. And I think after 50, he will retire. But yeah, amazing, amazing performance from Jim Miller. Jared Gordon just doing whatever the fuck he was doing, man. I don't know, man. But yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunate for him. But great win for Jim Miller. Yeah, unfortunate for Jared Gordon. Not much else to say, really. We move on to the early prelims now with Roman Kopylov against Marco Tulio. This was another fight I got wrong. I know, shocker. Roman Kopylov getting the decision win in this fight. I said Tulio was going to get, did I say he was going to get around 2 KO, TKO, or something like that, maybe? Either way, it was wrong. We saw in the first round, Kopylov kind of hitting Tulio with some good body kicks. Kopylov was looking, I thought, better on the feet out of the two of them in the first round. Tulio kind of evened it up a wee bit towards the end of the first round, I felt. He was kind of coming back into it a wee bit. And then in the second round, Kopylov started utilizing combinations and, just throwing some really good stuff on the feet. Tulio was using his right hand very well, I felt. He was just stinging Kopylov a good few times with that right hand. Kopylov, though, was using his sort of check hook. It was a check right hook, I think. And yeah, he was just utilizing that time and time again, constantly catching Tulio out with it. And yeah, just really, really good from Kopylov, who, again, I have to say, I was counting him out. I pretty much said that, he's a bit washed, he's a bit don't really like watching his fights. This was good. This was pretty good from Kopylov, and he has shut me up basically. And all fairness to the guy, he deserved the win. It was a really good performance. However, another thing I do just want to say is that in the second round, we saw that Kopylov had Tulio rocked, right? He had him absolutely rocked. He had him stumbling about. But then he went to the grappling instead of, trying to finish him on the feet or, with the ground and pound. And this is just something similar to the Rebecca thing where it's like, I feel like sometimes fighters, and I don't know if this is just a recent thing or if I'm just noticing it a bit more, they will have their opponent kind of rocked or on the ground. And then instead of actually trying to just finish the fight and get out of there with, ground and pound, which, I mean, you can only do it if you're not getting sort of pulled into your opponent's guard, which, I understand, that's fair enough. But I feel like sometimes fighters just need to stop trying to sort of toy around with the grappling and the wrestling and, like if you have somebody rocked, like just go at them and finish them, like I don't want to keep seeing guys just toying around and sort of because it's almost like you're it's like a baby playing with their dinner, playing with their food, and you just, oh man, it just does your head in. You just think, just eat the food, just finish the fight. You know what I mean? But no, it was a good win nonetheless from Kopylov. Unfortunate for Marco Tulio. I thought he was going to come in and win, and then maybe move up the middleweight division, but he still could. He still could. He's still relatively young, I think. But yeah, good win for Kopylov. He'll continue to be a bit of a gatekeeper. And yeah, good win all round. Yeah, we move on to Pat Sabatini against William Gomez. Now, this was a fight that I got right, prediction-wise. I said Pat Sabatini was going to win by decision, and he won by decision, which is very nice. One thing I would say though, just about these early prelims, is that I feel like the walkouts, the UFC were just rushing through some of these walkouts, and like a guy like Sabatini or Gomez, like they would get to the cage and they would kind of get to like the like the cut man and all that kind of stuff, and they would be getting the Vaseline put on their face, and then the camera would switch to the tunnel entrance, and then their opponent would now be walking out. And so I don't know, it's a very minute kind of little thing, but I just felt like the UFC were kind of rushing these guys a little bit. Either way, round one, Sabatini instantly shooting for a single leg. He holds Gomez down against the cage. I think this was going to be a pretty obvious sort of grappling wrestling match with the two of these guys. I think that's what I said in my prediction video, and so that's why I predicted a decision win. Um, Although Gomez did have some good moments on the feet, especially in the second round, Sabatini was just utilizing his grappling and the wrestling to his advantage. And although Gomez wasn't necessarily getting taken down all the time, or Sabatini again, he wasn't really hitting Gomez. He wasn't really striking with him. It was purely control time and stuff like that, which is what got him the win. Um, but yeah, so again, people were booing. I'm not going to say that it deserved to get booed, because I feel like again it's just a style of fighting. Like some guys just use grappling a lot, so I don't think it should be getting booed. However, I feel like if you are going to use grappling and stuff like that, and you are going to wrestle and you are going to do that, you do need to mix in, a lot more striking. Um, I mean, 7 to 8 strikes in 3 rounds is a bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. But yeah, good win for Pat Sabatini, featherweight division. Unfortunate for William Gomez. I think he's still a pretty decent fighter, and I think he could definitely get um, another decent win in the division. But yeah, bit of a boring fight, especially when we talk about the one that happened just before it. The Beisinger Susarkayev and Jordan Santos fight, which was a bit, it was a bit touch and go, to be fair, for Susarkayev, I felt. Um, I think in round one and round two, I think Jordan Santos was actually getting the better of Susarkayev on the feet anyway. Um, and it was just, it was like, it was like, I think Suzukayev, I rate him for doing the stand up stuff, and like being on the feet and not just wrestling or grappling or whatever it is. Like I rate that, and I think that shows. I just think it's quite good when you see guys who and I'm not saying because of the way he looks or the way that his name is spelt. I'm not trying to say that like he's automatically gonna wrestle or grapple. Let's wrestle. Um, but on the feet, he was really dodgy, I felt, especially in round one and round two. I think Jordan Santos, obviously, I think, as I said before, he was getting the better of the exchanges on the feet. Um, he looked like he was maybe a bit more fluid with his hands. Susarkayev, one thing I did notice was that his kicks were just, I mean, they were so slow. Like he was throwing them as if he had like cement bags or, like a cement block tied to his foot. And they were so slow and so easily sort of telegraphed and predictable for Jordan Santos, who would just get out the way or who would just block it or whatever. Um, and so I think round one and round two, I would say Jordan Santos probably won them both. And then obviously Susakayev in round three went in then for the submission and he got it. So fair play, he got the win. He needed to go to the ground and get the submission, because if it was going to stay on the feet in the third round, I think George Santos would have won this by decision. And obviously Sursurkayev, he couldn't have that. He's bit of a prospect at middleweight. You know, he's coming up the rankings. I mean, Jordan Santos, he's not even that old either. I think he's only like 28 or 29, so he's not even that old himself. But yeah, Susakayev, he's had to go to a submission because he was getting basically outstruck and outpointed on the feet. Good win though, with it was a rear naked choke finish. So yeah, good win for him. But yeah, a little bit weird on the feet. I felt, especially with those kicks, man. Those kicks need to, you know, he needs to up the speed, and make them less, you know, predictable and less telegraphable, if that's the word. We move on now to the first fight of Jose Ochoa and Clayton Carpenter. Now, this fight, I said Jose Ochoa was going to win by round two, TKO, I think. Instead, he won by decision. However, it was a bit of a wipeout, to be honest. He was, and you know, I don't say that, you know, to diss Clayton Carpenter at all, but Jose Ochoa, he used his boxing. You know, he used the fact that he's got that jiu-jitsu. You know jiu-jitsu? You know jiu-jitsu. But yeah, Carpenter, there was a couple of times he would try and get sort of like a heel hook or a leg lock or like a knee bar or something like that off of the ground, like from bottom position. And then we would see Jose Ochoa just basically get out of it, and then they would, you know, get back on the feet, and Ochoa would just piece him up, and he was ripping him to the body. He was ripping Carpenter to the body, as well as, you know, getting lots of really good headshots on him as well. Also, you know, in the first round, Ochoa got a really nice trip as well, which I thought was pretty cool. Really good left hand, amazing body shots. Really good grappling as well. He had that sort of heavy forward pressure, just, you know, keeping Carpenter behind that black line, that a lot of guys kind of talk about when you're talking about pressure. You want to keep the guy, you want to keep your opponent behind that black line, you know, up against the, you know, sort of making it so that he's got nowhere to go, you know. And I think Ochoa did that really well. And again, that just gave him the opportunity to just rip Carpenter to the body, and to just, you know, all sorts. But yeah, second round, similar stuff. Carpenter took the back while they were standing, and he was doing a lot of kind of crafty things with the jiu-jitsu. So and you know, I think in flyweight anyway, that's going to get him. That is going to get him quite far. I think he's not going to, you know, just, you know, peter out or whatever. I think Carpenter will get some more wins, and I think his jiu-jitsu, I think, is really good. However, Ochoa just had him. He just had his number on the feet. And yeah, I think I'm quite excited to see where Ochoa goes from here. Flyweight, you could maybe give him Tim Elliott, maybe. Tim Elliott's coming off of a loss against Steve Erceg, or Bedtime MMA, if you know, you know. But yeah, no, good win from Jose Ochoa. Unlucky from Carpenter, but I think he'll be back. And yeah, really good card all round. Not much to complain about. Maybe if the fans could stop booing every time people aren't boxing. You know, if you want to watch kickboxing or boxing, go watch it then. Stop going to UFC events, you know, that are clearly mixed martial arts, and then, you know, booing and getting angry when, you know, the fighters mix up the martial arts. But yeah, apart from that kind of stuff, and then also guys not going in for finishes when they probably should do. Apart from all that, it was a really good card, and it was a massive upset win for Sean Strickland, obviously, getting the decision over Chimaev. And yeah, just great card, great fights. Yeah, amazing stuff. Like, subscribe, comment any other video ideas you want to see, or comment any other. Actually, comment your guys' opinions on the fights as well. Actually, I forgot to say that. But yeah,